Hello and welcome to the Saigon Writers Club, to our tutorial section. And this, I hope, at around 10-minute segment will be about flash fiction, to learn about the craft of flash fiction writing. What is flash fiction? So flash fiction basically is a very, very, very short story. It's a complete self-contained story, has a beginning, a middle, and an end, has all the aspects of fiction that a novel would have, or a short story, or novella. Character, plot, setting, voice, dialogue, feelings. A key part of this is that flash fiction is not a shortened version of a longer story. It's a story on its own. So don't think that you're going to take a short story that you've already written or that you've read. I'm going to make that into a flash fiction piece. That's not the way this works. A flash fiction story is a story, and it should impact the reader just like all of literature does. Makes you feel happy, sad, cry, laugh, whatever it might be. And here's the hard part. Generally, a flash fiction piece is around 1,500 words, 1,500 words. So the structure of the flash fiction piece is something like the modern short story. And here is the modern short story structure. You have an opening where you meet your characters, you have the setting set up. There's a conflict, an inciting moment, something is happening, and that's the point of the short story. And then rising action, climax, answer to the inciting moment, falling action, and then the resolution. The flash fiction model is kind of the same. Same, but different. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. There's an opening, character, setting, voice, hook, that you start the story. And then, of course, there's an end. There's a resolution, and you have a final impression for the reader. The reader has his final thought about that. And in the middle, something has to happen. That's the middle, beginning, middle, and end. And so later on in this presentation, I'll be giving you a template that you can work from. But basically, this is kind of the model that you'd want to think about when you're creating a flash fiction story. So how exactly do you do that? How do you start? Well, because of the limited word, because you have to keep it to 1,500 or so words, you cut to the chase. Start with action. You don't need introduction to the setting, to the characters, the time, date, environment, mood. Just boom. Start right off the bat. Here's what's going on. Here's the deal. Here's the situation. So that could be the character. And so rather than having all these character attributes, all this description of character that you would have in a short story, in a flash fiction piece, the character acts right off the bat, and his or her actions becomes the way they are introduced. To do this effectively, think a long time and strategically and creatively about the beginning and about the end. How do you want to start this story? How do you want to go about introducing it? What's your premise for that matter? What's the story all about? And then the ending is, how do you want the reader to feel? What do you want them to, what kind of emotions do you want them to come out after they finish your flash fiction story? So think about the beginning, think about the end, and kind of fill out the middle part to so you have a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then after that, once you have the story fully written down, not paying attention at all to how many words you've written so far, then go back and become a ruthless editor. You cut out sections, you change words, you change verbs. You have so few verbs, I'm sorry, so few words that you can use. So your verbs and your nouns and your adjectives and your phrases all have to be spot on. And there's nothing easy about that. Nothing easy about that at all. Let's look at a couple examples here. Probably the most famous one is supposedly by Ernest Hemingway. The story goes that he was in a bar and someone went up to him and says, "Hey, I bet you can't write a short story in 6 words. I bet you can't write a story in 6 words." And Hemingway said, "I'll take that bet." Money on the table, pulls out a napkin, and he writes this. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. Now that's pretty simple. 6 words, but those words chosen, baby shoes never worn, for sale. What happened to the baby? How did you buy baby shoes first, then the baby wasn't born? Did it die? Was there something like an abortion or a miscarriage? You have to wonder what the heck is going on with this baby shoes that were never worn. So Hemingway accomplished in 6 words what some of his other works accomplished in a lot more than 6 words. Example here, reunification. So if you look on the left side of your screen there, you have, say, lead, plot, point of view, character, setting, so on. And these are things that you want to kind of plot out ahead of time as to how you want to set that up. And then the story itself is only 376 words. It starts with Amelia knew from the beginning that the boy wasn't hers. So right off the bat, 2 characters, bit of a plot, has a boy that's not hers. And then it goes through the story. I'm not going to cover that, but read through the story and pay attention to the underlying parts. The last sentence is, he may not have been hers, but in that moment, she knew she'd always be his. So it's a story about a foster care system, a foster mother and a foster child. And the child was with the woman for a few months and they fell in love. The child became well, became healthy, and the woman loved him, but knew that that's a foster system, that's how it works. It's a very touching story. I'll give you another example, something that I wrote that I can talk about in more detail. It's called The Casualties of War. And I'll just have you read that source of the story, the setting and characters. But the basic idea is this. I visited Cambodia in 1994, and I was shocked at the number of amputees that I saw. They were all over the place in 94. And also in about that time in Saigon, I met an amputee, a beggar, who asked for money. We sat down and talked for a bit, and I learned his story. And then I'm thinking now, as this flash fiction idea enters my head, and I was crafting this story in my head, about the war in Ukraine, and just to think of how many amputees are in Ukraine and in Russia right now. And also, who are the war casualties? Are all war casualties the same? War demeans all. I think there's no really argument to that. It impacts all. So, are there lucky survivors of war? Are there truly depraved survivors of war? That's what it's all about. And so I started, and I introduced a really good do-gooder American type that wants to help. All we need is love. Love is all we need. I pull that out, so it's kind of stands forth. The guy's name is Tom Goodman. He meets this guy named Sokha Sofrikatra in Cambodia who's begging. So I'm going to leave this here. You can pause this and read this. Go on. They meet. There's a dialogue between them. This guy, Tom Goodman, learns Sokha's story about how he lost his leg. Do-gooder in him says, I'm going to help you. I'm going to get a new leg for you. Visits an NGO. And the NGO says, well, if you raise some money, we can help this young man get a leg for him. He goes, oh, I have to do that because he's such a do-gooder, raises the money. And then he learns later that it's all a scam and that this rich Cambodian woman that runs the NGO scams people to get money using the amputees. So she's a war casualty. Soka is a war casualty. And in a way, the American do-gooder is a war casualty. So anyway, take a look. I would love to hear your thoughts about that. But it's an example of a story that's 1,221 words long, and I hope emotes some kind of feeling. So how do you start? Well, you have something like this. You have a big template, and you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have an opening, you have an ending, you have scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, and you have to fill out all those different things on top of that slide. Source of the story, the morality tale, the genre, the plot model, all those different things, because those are basic writing mechanics. And at the Saigon Writers Club, we have a class to teach creative writing, to teach a short story. And each one of those areas is one lecture, one session. But for the flash fiction piece, you still need all those things. That's part of the challenge. And so I hope you'll take this and maybe print it out if you can. Send me an email and I'll email this template to you. And that will be your map, if you will. I would hope that you would take this after you print it out and write all over it, your flash fiction idea. And then you start writing. Couple things. We are doing a flash fiction writing competition. There is an entry fee, only $100,000, and you can have more than one. And it's in the month of March. On March 31, the competition closes, and then we will judge and award prizes for the winner. So go onto our website, SaigonWritersClub.com, and learn more about that. And also, anyone interested, you can publish your flash fiction piece with us. There's a fee there because there's some work involved. The work is primarily a full edit by myself, and also a 1 hour consultation by myself on your short story, on your flash fiction story, to talk about, get everything through, word choice, voice, theme, paragraphing, sentence structure, the whole 9 yards of writing a really solid flash fiction story. And then we publish it. So you become a published author. And the cost of that is $2.5 million. So you have a chance to enter a competition for a small fee, or to actually have your piece published for relatively a small fee as well. So thanks for your time. My name's Sam Korsmoe. I'm the founder of the Saigon Writers Club. There's my contact details and the Saigon Writers Club website. Thanks for listening, and I wish you a very, very good day.